So, I want to now welcome Christine on stage from Sweden, from the Swedish Association of Local Authorities and Regions. What a long title. We can say Sala because it makes it much shorter. But we've been working with Christine and her team in Sweden now for a number of years, and they're doing some amazing work to bring this alive at the level of municipalities and at the level of the nation. And I wanted to share with you this inspiring story about work that's happening in another part of the world so that you can see that this really is important and this really is workable. You remember that stuff I said, evolution happens from the opposable thumb and storytelling? Christine, please tell us your story.
Am I supposed to use this one?
Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you. Hi. So, what's going on in Sweden? Well, we can start with this and say, I think some of the problems or the challenges you have for the future is the same in Sweden, about elderly care, about money. We don't have a lot of money to put in the public sector. And it's the same thing in Sweden. And as Phil said, we've been for a couple of years, actually 4 years now, doing a national value assessments. And free organizations are sponsoring these values. And you can actually download the Swedish report in English if you're interested to look into it. But our organizations found out about this a couple of years ago and started to think perhaps this could be interesting for the local authorities. Because it's one thing to measuring this on the national level, but if we really want to get the change, we have to go down to the local authorities, down in the organizations, down and talk to the citizen about actually how can we do this change. And as Phil said, it's up to each person. I have to be willing to do the change and understand this if we're going to have a change in the organization. And why do we start this? Phil was just hinting it. For a lot of years, I've been working in the local authorities in Sweden, down south, and actually one of my works was about this. Filling the room with structures, working with policies, documents, and different kind of systems, trying to reach better results and provide better service. But the problem has been that when it doesn't work, what are we doing? Well, instead of thinking about what's happening in the organization and talk about some kind of cultural change, we do like this, okay, this policy doesn't work, okay, let's do another one. So we've been filling up this room for a couple of years, and a lot of authorities in Sweden are telling us the same story today. Well, it doesn't matter if we have 10, 15 or 20 policies, we have to do something else. So we thought, by looking at this way of measuring values, perhaps we could give some light to the room with culture. Perhaps it's time to talk about the culture in the organization and in the community. And the story so far in Sweden is that it's been going quite... we have done a lot of work the latest year, and I think one of the success for that was, you know the slogan, just do it, and actually we just did. We had a lot of authorities that were willing to do this, and they didn't actually know what they were going to do when we talked about measuring values. And you know, you've tried it for one time, and you're not... it's not easy to understand the system, but as Phil said, you have to think about this as a dialogue. The words, there are things behind the words, and that's the main reason we are starting this, try to get the dialogue going. So, if you look at a local authority as an organization, you can measure the organization, but we thought it would be better if we talked about the whole municipalities. So we said, authorities that are willing to do this in a network have to measuring not only the employees and the politicians, they also have to talk to the citizens, because these three groups are the groups that are actually creating and are active in the community. So today we have 9 local authorities from the smallest one with 5,000 inhabitants to the largest one that is about 90,000 inhabitants all over Sweden with different backgrounds in these communities. We decided to work with 3 different questions, similar to your questions in your recent survey. But it's about the personal values. But when we talked about the municipalities, we asked, how is it to be an employee in these municipalities? How is it to live in this municipality? And how is it to be a politician in these municipalities? And what do we see? For the first I have to say, we actually got 12,056 people who participated in this survey. And it's easy to do it in organizations. You can do internet today, you can do an online survey. But how do you actually reach out to the citizens? Well, some of the municipalities used online surveys. They had all kinds of videos on the internet. But the most successful ways to do it was actually to go out and meet people, talk to people out in the cities, use the food store, go out in the food store a Friday afternoon when they are shopping for the family. Are they going to answer a survey? Yes, actually they did. So we had a lot of people out in the cities using iPads and different kinds of ways to get people to answer the surveys. And we also did a service in different kind of language because some of the municipalities have a lot of different language in the community. So, our conclusion is that our personal values, as you've seen in the UK also, is that it's almost the same in these 3 groups in Sweden. It's about responsibility, honesty, family, positive attitude, humor, fun, and community involvement. A lot of these values, if you look at your survey in UK, you talked about the relationship. The difference is that in Sweden, most of those values that turn up in the personal values are individuals. And keep that in mind because it's important for the future. When we look at the current culture, both politicians, employees, and citizens talks about cost reduction, uncertainty about the future, short-term focus, bureaucracy, centralized government, and unemployment. The only positive thing we see today is environmental awareness. And this is interesting because if you look at Sweden today and where we are compared to the financial crisis, we are actually doing quite well. So it shouldn't be all those things. But I think, as Phil said, media and the things that we talk about in Europe, of course, that affect us when we answer these questions. And for the future, we want to make a big shift. We want to go from the bottom. If you remember the 7 steps, we want to move up on the ladder. We want to have a full spectrum. We want to have a concern for the future generations, sustainability, environmental awareness, all things that are things that we have to be a part to contribute to. But the thing is, if you look at back to the personal values, it was values that those values who was chosen were a lot of values that was connected to me as an individual. And our problem today is we want this picture, but I'm not willing to do it. Who's going to do it? So that's one of the challenges in Sweden today. And this picture actually looks the same if you look at the national value assessments during these 4 years. It's the same thing. Another challenge for us is the employees. Sweden is the only country, if you look at the national value assessments, that actually don't have customers or values related to customers in the top 10. You have to go way down in the list to find them. And we thought that was, we were a bit worried. And at the same time, we said we can't just show these pictures and say that our employees in the local authorities don't care about the citizens. So we actually asked the employees, why do you think that we come up with this picture? And some of them said, we don't have a culture where providing good service and having satisfied customers is our goal. Today in Sweden, we actually are walking in your footsteps in UK because we are all talking about performance management. It's all about the results. So the employees are thinking, well, I have to deliver this result. And the things about taking care of the customers, the citizens, when I deliver the service is not so important as long as I show the results for the politicians. It's also another one which is not great to say is it's easier when the municipality makes the decisions without the customer's engagement. It's easier for me. I don't want to involve the citizen. I know what's best for the citizens. So please don't let us start this dialogue. This is the way we've always been doing things. Why do we not have to change now? And my own work and organization is more important than the customers. So one question you can ask these people is why bother to get up and go up in the morning and go to work? Because it should be all about the customers and the people you are providing service for. What is not right now? So here is another big challenge for us. And during this traveling so far, we have come to the conclusion that the important thing is, of course, to start a dialogue. So in these 9 municipalities, we today have educated a lot of process managers that are right now doing the dialogue with the employees in the whole organizations, doing the dialogues with the citizen, trying to find out, okay, you say that we want to, in the future, have concern for the future generations. What do you mean by that? Is it the same for the politicians and for the citizens? We have to get to know, we have to collect that knowledge before we can work in further and put down the visions for the local authorities. So we at Salar are providing the tools to the local authorities, and they are starting to do their mapping and trying to figure out what are the visions for the future. What changes do we want in our authority? So there are many challenges ahead. You've seen some of them, but the commitment, we're glad to say, amongst the politicians are great, and they are really want to do this thing because I think they've come to the insight that if we're going to manage the future, we have to do something different. And if you look at this and take a minute to think about, okay, who's important in this process? Well, we found out that there is one group that's very important in this travel, and that's the leaders. They are the one who's going to have the dialogue with the employees, and they have to live this change. They have to show that actually this is important. So we now have started training for seniors. This year we're going to do training for senior politicians and officials. So it's all about a dialogue, and actually we don't really know what we are going to end up, but we have started a journey, and this journey is just not in these 9 municipalities. We also have municipalities outside this network starting to do work about the dialogue. So perhaps in a couple of years we have actually going to see some changes in the national value assessments. So Phil, that was the traveling in Sweden. Thank you.